Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Qeqwa Savannah Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. It is Friday, the 18th of March, and you're joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura.
Now, today is World Sleep Day. Now, World Sleep Day is a global awareness act that celebrates sleep and aims to help those with serious sleep problems. Now, celebrated on the Friday before the spring vernal equinox of each year, this holiday is an annual 155 events held across the world and is participated by over 70 countries. Now, Ashwin, what are you going to do for World Sleep Day?
I'm going to wait until the day is over, and then I'll probably see you on Monday. Just one long nap.
Ah, I see. Awesome. Let's take a look at this video on World Sleep Day.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning, and these are the stories making your headlines. Grade 10 Free State pupil probed over poisonous cupcakes. A grade 10 pupil from Antemo Seng Secondary School in the Free State has been taken in for questioning for allegedly selling poisonous cupcakes to fellow pupils. According to sanews.gov, some of the pupils who bought the cupcakes are in critical condition, while others have recovered after receiving medical attention. The pupils who ate the cupcakes are said to have started scratching themselves, with some experiencing headaches and others being hyperactive. When questioned, the pupils said they had bought cupcakes from a grade 10 pupil when they arrived at school. Now, about 17 of them were treated at the hospital and 12 have fully recovered, said Free State Education MEC Dr. Tate Mokho. Now, the MEC said the pupil who sold the cupcakes contravened the school code of conduct and will not be allowed at the school. Now, this should not be allowed in our schools. It is clear that older people are using our children to achieve their nefarious objectives. Collectively and individually as stakeholders, we have to condemn this in the strongest possible terms, Mahoe said.
Now, in our next story, U.S. sanctions more Somali leaders over delayed polls. Now, the U.S. has increased the number of Somali officials under visa restrictions for undermining the country's democratic process. This comes after Somali again missed a 15 March deadline for completing parliamentary elections that have been delayed for more than a year. Now, the election deadline has now been extended to the end of the month to allow the remaining seats in the lower house to be filled. Now, the U.S. Embassy in Somalia loaded the states of Southwest and Galmudug for concluding their parliamentary elections before the deadline and expressed disappointment over the delays by other states. Now, the U.S. says it will use visa restrictions and other tools to promote accountability and support the conclusion of the electoral process. Now, the statement also noted that there were credible reports of irregularities, harassment, and intimidation of journalists and opposition members. Somalia has not held a one-person, one-vote election for more than 50 years. Now, under the current systems, MPs are chosen by delegates appointed by clan elders and members of civil society who are selected by regional state officials. Now, the MPs will then vote for a new president. The current president's term ended last year but was extended amid delays, partly blamed on his rivalry with the prime ministers.
Swinging back to South Africa, Charlotte Maxeke Hospital faces critical staff shortages. Charlotte Maxeke Hospital has been a ghost town, and it will be by the time it opens. Many say there have been 220 staff resignations since the fire last year, and there are currently 677 vacant posts. Now, according to the Gauteng Health MEC Nomathemba Mokheti, there are 355 vacant nursing posts and more than 300 vacant healthcare-related posts. Before the fire, the total staff complement was 4,982, but this has dropped now to 4,812. According to Mokheti, The reduction of staff is due to resignation, retirement, death, and contracts expired, and staff resignations were related to better remuneration, promotions, and traveling costs between home and work. A total of 312 Charlotte Maxeke staff have been deployed to other hospitals to assist with the hospital's patients, but this is inadequate and treatment backlogs are growing alarmingly, said DA Shadow MEC for Health, Jack Bloom.
Now, gold miners killed in Sudan mine collapse. Now, at least 13 freelance gold miners have died in Sudan's South Kordofan state after a tunnel collapsed. Now, the accident happened on Tuesday night after the discovery of a large amount of gold in one of the shafts, the news agency EFE reports. Now, the finds attracted a large number of small-scale miners, which caused the accident. Now, other miners have been injured, but the exact number of casualties is yet to be established. According to Reuters news agency, about 80% of the Sudan's lucrative gold mining is extracted using dangerous makeshift methods. Now, an official with the Sudanese Mineral Resource Company told Reuters the mine was not up to standards and miners and residents of the area have refused government oversight.
In our next story, Yemen's war robs many children of life-saving heart surgery, doctors say. Millions of Yemenis are struggling to obtain life-saving medical treatment due to a 7-year-old war that has destroyed Yemen's health system, hindered the entry of foreign surgeons, restricted travel abroad by locals, and spread poverty. Mohammed Al-Kebsi, head of the cardiac center at Al-Tawra Hospital in the capital Sana'a, said the department has nearly 3,000 children waiting complex heart surgery. Foreign medical teams used to come and do about 100 cases a week. Now cases have accumulated due to the lack of medical teams and sophisticated specialized medical materials. United Nations and other humanitarian agencies have supported parts of Yemen's battered health system, but funding has fallen below requirements in recent years. A UN-led fundraising drive on Wednesday received only $1.3 billion towards this year's $4.27 billion aid plan, with agencies warning that food, health, and sanitation projects will be further scaled back. That brings us to the end of the first half of our top stories. More news after the break.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and thank you for staying with us. Now, in our next story, spike in migrants under 18 reaching Italy from Tunisia. Now, a record number of irregular migrants under 18 years old reached Italy from Tunisia last year, more than quadrupling in 4 years, a rights group said on Wednesday. Now, Tunisia has become a major conduit for migrants seeking to reach European shores, particularly the Italian island of Lampedusa, just 130 kilometers from the North African country's coast. Now, a record number of 2,731 miners completed the journey last year, up from 561 4 years earlier, the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights reported. Now, around 3/4 of the underage migrants are from sub-Saharan African countries, said the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights spokesperson, adding that deteriorating social economic situations and political tensions in their countries were the main push for these factors. Now, Tunisia's Coast Guard intercepted a further 25,657 migrants attempting the crossing, now more than double the previous year's number. Italian authorities say more than 55,000 migrants reached the country's shores in 2021, up over 25,000 from the previous year.
Now in Mozambique, Mozambique cyclone death toll rises to 53. The death toll from a cyclone that lashed northern Mozambique last week has risen to 53. Authorities in northern Nampula province have said the last official toll was 22, but 31 more bodies have been found in a Mosurul district in the wake of Cyclone Gombe, local authorities said late Wednesday. The area on the Indian Ocean coast is largely inaccessible now as road links have been disrupted by felled trees. The situation is dramatic. The number of deaths may be even higher as we continue rescue operations in the most affected districts, said Meti Gondola, a senior Nampula official who arrived in the area on Wednesday by ship. Tens of thousands of people have been affected by the cyclone in Nampula, Mozambique's most populous province. It struck on March 11 and quickly lost strength, sparing the country even worse damage.
Now, in our next story, we're in South Africa. Now, social relief grant will be impossible to withdraw. Inflation hikes and high rates of unemployment have triggered increased levels of dependency on the COVID-19 social relief of distress grant, and government will have to consider making it permanent at some point. Now, this is a view highlighted by finance and fiscal expert Michael Sach, who said the special grant may have to become a permanent line item on the national budget during a PSG Think Big series webinar on Tuesday. Now, the SRD grant, which was supported 10.5 million South Africans, was introduced around April 2020 for the purpose of minimizing the social and economic impact of the COVID-19. Now, in his maiden budget speech in February, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced the allocation of 44 billion rands to continue the special SRD grant for another year, capped at 350 rands. Now, all other permanent social grants will increase from April to provide for inflationary hikes. Government had initially intended for the SRD grant to be in effect for 6 months, but the progression of the pandemic and its continued impact on livelihoods led to the grant being extended.
Now in DRC, locals slam authorities over deadly train accidents. 5 days after a train crash in the Democratic Republic of Congo killed at least 75 people, survivors are expressing their anger and dismay, blaming the authorities for forcing them to travel in undignified and dangerous conditions. These so-called illegal travelers also accused the military, mechanists, and other railroad agents of pocketing their money without the slightest ticket in return to allow them to climb into freight cars at the risk of their lives. We have no choice because of impassable roads and for lack of other means of transport. We are forced to travel like this, Tishujuia Korea, who arrived on Tuesday in Tenke, a mining town in the southeast of the DRC, told the AFP. Now, several dozen surviving passengers were transported to Tenke on board half a dozen cars off the train that had not derailed and fallen into a ravine. They were accompanied by soldiers who repeatedly prevented the AFP journalist from filming and interviewing the passengers.
Now, in our next story, Rwanda under fire over free speech. Now, dozens of people have been harassed, threatened, or prosecuted for holding critical opinions about Rwanda's government, Human Rights Watch says. Now, a report by the US-based group has also demanded the urgent release of activists, journalists, and opposition leaders arrested in Rwanda. Now, in 1994, hateful and dangerous speech broadcasts in the media played a key role in inciting the Rwandan genocide, which killed about 800,000 people in just 100 days. Now, over 2 decades later, HRW has said that censoring speech and restricting journalists, bloggers, and YouTube commentators have gone too far. The report highlights a YouTuber with 15 million views who was charged with humiliating public officials after he published a series of videos accusing soldiers of abusing people living in slums. Now, while the rights group recognizes the government's concern about speech leading to violence, it says that what it sees in the country is the complete banning of debates, opinions, and criticism of government policies. Now, the Rwandan government, led by President Paul Kagame, has not responded to the report.
That brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, I'll be having a conversation with 19-year-old Yakira Stanley, who is the founder of the Inner Girl Foundation. Stay with us.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Our guest this morning is 19-year-old Yakira Stanley, who is the founder of the Inner Girl Foundation that aims to assist less fortunate young Namibian girls who cannot afford basic menstrual hygiene care by distributing sanitary products to schools. Good morning, Yakira. How are you?
Good morning. Very nervous, but excited.
Truly, it's good to have you here. So could you please share with us about, the Inner Girl Foundation, how it came about, and what inspired you to establish it?
Well, I started on the 7th of April 2021. By then, the government made pads VAT-free, so I showed this to my mom, and she said, right off the bat, start a foundation, take that extra step. And from day one, we started getting everything in place.
Mama knows best, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so initially you distributed sanitary products in Windhoek. Have you extended your reach? And how has the foundation grown since then?
It's grown tremendously. Every second week we have pads coming in. We've donated to the north last week already. Planning on going to Walfish Bay, and our first donation was actually in a village out of Windhoek.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I find incredible, Yakira, is you started during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
And that must have, compounded and made things a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you're a teen yourself, recently 19. Do you handle everything yourself, or do you have a team helping you?
I have a team helping me. I'm part of a team of 4. But when we started, I was all by my lonesome. So yeah, I have help finally.
And how has that been working with people? I assume friends?
Yes,
or,
friends.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
people that are willing to do this out of the goodness of their heart. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
We've accomplished so much as a team.
All right.
So I'm excited for the future.
All right. Okay, so where can people make donations, and where can prospective donors get hold of you?
Well, initially we have Charlie's at Murray Spa, Grove Spa, Pick and Pay House Valley, the typical stores that you go to. There you'll see a poster with our contact details, either an email or phone number. That's usually where they get a hold of us, contact us if they're
So
in
instead of
need.
Marua Mall?
Yes,
All right.
and Grove, because
Okay.
I know a lot of people go there.
Yes.
And then Pick and Pay House Valley.
All right. All
So,
right.
yeah.
So, how do you determine beneficiaries, and where will you be going next to assist?
Well, actually, they contact us.
All right.
Recently, I got the numbers of all the teachers, life skills teachers in the Commerce region. So we try and get every school done. Other than that, usually people contact us, give us a number, and then we go from there.
All right. So, is this just a thing you're doing for a couple of years, or are you fully planted in this? What's your vision for the future?
Well, the hashtag is make it free. So
All right.
that's the goal, for the government to make it free. If not, then as long as I possibly can, I'll try and distribute to the girls.
All right. As long as she possibly can, she'll try and distribute to the girls. So the hashtag is make it free. Is this
Yes.
on all social media platforms? Have you already started having the conversation, Twitter, etc.? Is there anywhere we can find you there?
Not Twitter,
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, it's on all of our posters. So that's our main goal.
Okay.
All our contact details are also on Instagram, on Facebook. So basically any type of social media.
When would you say you started having an interest in girls' issues? Of course, you're a lady yourself,
Yes.
and naturally you're going to interact intimately with everything that affects women. But when did you particularly decide that you didn't want to be a bystander, you wanted to be active?
Well, this actually started when I was in high school, helping the less fortunate. I took part in Round Square. So that started from then. And then I've always had this love for helping other people. And ever since I saw that pads were made VAT-free, I realized, as a girl, I'm very fortunate, and there are a lot of girls that are less fortunate that don't get that. So from last year, it kind of really sunk in, and from there on, I decided I have to do something to help.
How did you come up with the name, though? Inner Girl Foundation. Sounds very deep, soulful,
It
spiritual.
does.
even.
Actually, my designer, which is a family member, came up with it.
Hey.
Yeah, so it represents, woman empowerment. It's inner girl, it's something that we should be proud of, something that a lot of girls actually hide. So that's kind of just to bring out the woman empowerment, help the less fortunate. It's all in the name, basically.
All in the name.
Yeah.
Inner Girl Empowerment. All right, so Yakira Stanley, can we reach you on social media? You say that the beneficiaries, they contact you.
Yes.
How do they reach you? I mean, you talked about the places, the points in Baromo, you talked about the hashtag,
Yes.
but what's the easiest way to reach you?
They give us a call.
Just give you a call.
Yes.
Do you have the number off your head right now?
Yes.
Yes, you could just feel free to say it to the camera.
Okay, so it's 081-292-1066.
081-292-1066. So they reach out to you, they say essentially, look, we're trying to help these girls. And are you going to expand your reach beyond Namibia? Of course, I understand Namibia's priority. It's going to be a while before, But generally, you find that foundations, they can have common interests with other foundations. Have you worked with any other foundations, looked at other foundations, maybe South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana? Have you seen something similar that you feel like, maybe collaborative efforts can happen in the future?
Actually, no. A couple of people have reached out to me from South Africa, but not really foundations. So to get that going, to get transport going, it's going to take a little bit of time. But so far we haven't looked over Namibia because there are so many girls in need here already.
Yes, absolutely. You have to start with home. Just
Yes.
as you started with home with your mom telling you to start in the Girl Foundation. All right, so I've just been talking to Yakira Stanley, the 19-year-old founder of Inner Girl Foundation. The hashtag is Make It Free. Make it free. This is Still Africa. Good morning, bringing you all the stories that you need to know. See you after the break.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Now, in our next video, yesterday marked the launch of the Africa Development Trust, which was established in response to COVID-19, which led to school closures and halting of face-to-face classes. Now, the trust aims to facilitate the distribution of physical copies or online education resource materials to learners across the country who often cannot access this means of education material. Now, Namibia Media Holdings' scale and logistical reach has aided cost effectiveness of the project, taking the cost of providing a child with 1 week's worth of learning material to $2 Namibian per week.
Truly important.
That is very, very important. Let's have a look at this video on that.
From 2020 to 21, as previously said, we've reached over 360,000 children daily in 12 languages in all 14 regions, over 12 million books. We spent over 50,000 hours in development time to make this happen. We traveled more than 1.2 million kilometers in this time to make sure that we reach every corner of this country on a daily basis. We reached over 900 schools, over 500 ECDs, which for the record is about 60% of all the childhood development children But yet there are still 2,000 ECDs we haven't reached, the smaller ones. It's a real challenge to get to everybody. We spent and designed, Teacher Mutse was earlier here, she's been the voice of SOSI. We've made over 18,000 minutes of online training. Yes, we do recognize and we do acknowledge that the future is online. But far too often, funders, individuals, people live for tomorrow and forget about today. The reality on the ground is that reach online does not reach 5% of the children. So 95% of our children are dedicated and required to reach through print. The irony is print is still the best way to learn. The concept of motion and pen and paper is extremely powerful and extremely important. We have spent a lot of time on the academic side of this education, and the project is where it is. But we have to be fair. Education is a lot more than just going to school. It requires us to have an holistic approach on education, the social, emotional, cognitive, and physical needs. And that's why NMH and Namibia Media Holdings have realized that this project, and trust me, we've done a lot, requires more input. It requires bigger input. It requires more people to be involved. This project is too big for NMH. And yes, we have traveled 1.2 million. And yes, we have printed 12 million books. And yes, we do reach 360,000 children every day.
As the patron of Africa Child Development Trust and the minister responsible for education in the Republic of Namibia, it is my honor and privilege to officially launch the trust. And may I invite the trustee to join me on the stage so that I declare this trust launch. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister Christina. That was an inspirational speech indeed, and here is the reveal.
A distinct honor to declare this trust tonight launched. Thank you.
A truly, truly important initiative, decentralizing education, making it accessible for every Namibian child. Now, something else that we are currently accessing is a little bit of rain in Windhoek. So you want to check out the weather forecast to see what it looks like in your area. Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Now, the Minister of Justice, Yvonne Dowseb, has this week asked Parliament to ratify agreements for cooperation in legal matters with Russia and Botswana. On Tuesday, she also asked the National Assembly to ratify an extradition treaty with Botswana. Here's a video from the Parliament of the Republic of Namibia.
I rise to motivate the ratification of the agreement on cooperation between the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Namibia and the Ministry of Justice of the Russian Federation. The Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Namibia engaged into negotiations with the Ministry of Justice of the Russian Federation to conclude the agreement on cooperation, which was signed by the former Minister of Justice on 8 October 2018 in Windhoek, Namibia. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in a global framework, no country can act efficiently alone. The agreement is important in enhancing the rule of law and ensuring adherence to our governance system, maintaining peace, security, and constitutional democracy. Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members of the public, the purpose of the agreement on cooperation is to strengthen and develop cooperation between two states. This agreement pertains to issues that represent mutual interest through the exchange of experienced experts of both parties in areas of national statutes and other regulatory acts. Apart from this, meetings and consultations are required in order to discuss issues concerning the strengthening and increasing the efficiency of cooperation. In conclusion, therefore, cooperation agreements provides a vehicle for states to share knowledge, expertise, and good practices, thus contributing to capacity building efforts and related initiatives. As this accordingly occurs at the international level, the cooperation agreement between Namibia and Russia is therefore required. Allow me, therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to pray to this August House to ratify the agreement on cooperation between the Minister of Justice of the Republic of Namibia and the Minister of Justice of the Russian Federation. I thank you and I so support. Thank you. I rise to motivate the ratification of the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters with the Republic of Botswana. As a country, Namibia is authorized under Article 63(2)(a) and Article 32(3)(e) of the Namibian Constitution to have these kinds of treaty agreements ratified by the National Assembly to facilitate mutual legal assistance in criminal matters specifically, but also in any other international, sub-regional, and cross-border activities more generally. To clarify, mutual legal assistance is a form of collaboration between different states for the purpose of collecting and exchanging information. Through the International Cooperation in Criminal Matters Act 9 of 2000, as amended, the Minister is authorized under Section 27(1) to enter into agreements with other countries for mutual legal assistance in criminal matters. It's on this basis that the Republic of Namibia engaged into negotiations with the Republic of Botswana to conclude the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, which was signed by the former Minister of Justice on 10 September 2018 in Gaborone, Botswana. The objective of the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters is to improve the effectiveness of both countries in the prevention, investigation, and prosecution of all acts which constitute criminal offenses in either country. This will be achieved through cooperation in the prevention, investigation, and prosecution of crime and the tracing, restraint, forfeiture, or confiscation of assets, including the proceeds and instruments of crime. The manner in which mutual legal assistance may be afforded, as per Article 1.3 of the treaty, comes in the form of taking evidence of statements, effecting of service of judicial documents, executing searches and seizures, and taking measures to locate, freeze, and confiscate any funds or finances meant for the financing of acts of terrorism in the territory of either party. I therefore conclude and would like to state that cooperation between Namibia and Botswana on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters will ensure Namibia is ready to prosecute any suspects who have committed offences where the evidence required for trial is linked to or emanates from Botswana. Allow me therefore, Honourable Deputy Speaker, to pray to this August House to ratify the Treaty on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters between the Republic of Namibia and the Republic of Botswana. I thank you and I so. Members, I rise to motivate the ratification of the Treaty on Extradition with the Republic of Botswana. Extradition is the official process of one state surrendering an individual to another state for prosecution of crimes committed in the requesting country's jurisdiction. The Republic of Botswana is a designated country as provided for by Section 4.1b of our Extradition Act. Now, Namibia and Botswana share a common border measuring 1,544 kilometers, and cross-border activities take place on a daily basis. Persons involved in criminal activities such as transnational or other organized crimes know no borders. It is therefore imperative that this August House ratify this instrument for the safety of our people and security of their properties. It is our considered opinion that this treaty is important to support the rule of law, proper governance, peace, security, and democracy.
We'll certainly be looking forward to seeing how the Minister of Justice's questions are answered. Now we're going to dive straight into your economic news stories, and we start off in Nigeria. 100 million barrels of oil unaccounted for in 2019. More than 100 million barrels of crude oil were unaccounted for by Nigeria's state oil company in 2019, its lawmakers have discovered while reviewing a report from the country's Auditor General. In the report, the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation accused the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited of failure to account for about 107.2 million barrels of crude oil lifted for domestic consumption in 2019. The Group Managing Director of NNPC is requested to provide the complete schedule of allocation of crude oil to refineries from 1st January to 31st December 2019, furnish details of the sale of utilized crude oil, and reconcile it with the total domestic crude oil of 107,239,436 barrels lifted in 2019, and remit amounts realized from the sale of unutilized crude oil to the Federation account, the report stated. This came just days after Nigeria's extractive sector watchdog, National Extractive Industries Extractive Initiative, said in a report that 100 oil and gas companies operating in Nigeria owed the government 2.6 trillion naira, equivalent to 6.2 billion in taxes, royalty, and concession on rentals.
Now, in our next story, more on oil, as 10 African countries with the highest petrol prices. Now, the Russian invasion of Ukraine raised fears that as the conflict continues to escalate, it could have an even more negative impact on energy costs in Africa. Now, the African countries with the highest petrol prices as of March 2022, according to data made available by Global Petrol Prices. Now, Zimbabwe has the highest petrol cost in Africa. A liter of petrol costs as much as $2.153. Earlier this month, the country's Energy and Power Development Minister, Zemu Zota, explained that frequent petrol price hikes were driven by developments in the international oil industry. Now, the island country Seychelles has the second most expensive fuel price in Africa. According to data, a liter of petrol in this country is sold for $1.541. The country does not currently produce any oil and gas, although some international oil companies are busy prospecting potential oil deposits of its many coasts. Now, Malawi follows with $1.426 for a liter of petrol. followed by South Africa. Here, a litre of petrol cost $1.413. In Uganda, a litre of petrol costs $1.389. The high cost of petrol in Uganda is despite the fact that the country actually produces oil. Now, another country on the list are Mauritius, Burundi, Senegal, Lesotho, and Rwanda.
You know, looking at those fuel prices, I'm very grateful it's World Sleep Day. You won't be getting it traveling out of me. Now we swing over to Zambia. Staff level agreement signed with IMF to contract $1.4 billion will boost the economy. The Zambia Tax Platform, an alliance of different civil society organizations, is optimistic that the staff level agreement, which the government signed with the International Monetary Fund to contract $1.4 billion, will boost the economy. Zambia Tax Platform Alliance Coordinator Ibrahim Kamara said the staff level agreement is important for the country as it will help in restructuring or refinancing Zambia's debt. Now, Kamara says the government must restructure the debt, especially those which are commercial, as they have impacted negatively on foreign reserves and contributed to currency depreciation. And the representative of Debt Justice Campaign, Charles Mulila, said the government must devise ways to grow the economy instead of contracting more debt. In December last year, the government signed a staff-level agreement with the IMF to restructure credit extended facilities for 2022 to 2025.
Now, in our next story, Tanzania's nuclear energy lab almost complete. Now, an ultra-modern nuclear energy laboratory under construction here from 2017 is nearing completion. Now, the $13 billion Tanzanian shilling facility will be used for testing and maintenance of sophisticated radiology equipment and instruments. Now, the complex will be completed by September, revealed Prof. Lazaro Busagara, the Director General of the Tanzania Atomic Energy Commission. He told a parliamentary committee on social services on Tuesday that scores of staff members of the commission were currently being trained to operate the lab. Now, the laboratory, located at Njiro suburb southeast of Arusha, will serve the nuclear energy sector and the East African region. Now, the first phase, costing $2.3 billion Tanzanian shillings, was completed and officially inaugurated by Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa in April 2018. Now, the project's first phase will have 4 mini labs and a nuclear security support center, according to Prof. Busagara. Now, the mini labs are those dealing with X-ray fluorescence devices, a person monitoring dosimetry, standard dosimetry, and a lab specific for human body. Now, construction of the second phase began in September 2019. 10 mini labs for installation there include those specifically for radiology, alpha, beta, and gamma rays, cytogenic laboratory, and XRF lab. Now, others are laboratories that will handle instrumentation and maintenance, radiochemistry, and radioactive waste conditioning. This will be a unique and most modern laboratory of its kind in Africa. It will enable Tanzania to comply with internationally agreed legal and security requirements on nuclear energy equipment. Education, Science, and Technology Minister Adolf Makenda called for enhanced public sensitization on nuclear energy. He said the technology was not much known to the public despite its importance in food preservation, medical treatment, power generation, and other sectors. Now, this sounds like a very, very exciting project in East Africa.
Absolutely, and what a way to end our economic news stories. Just before we get into sports, your economic indicators.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
Now, growing up, I was always an active participant in sports. Now, as a broadcaster, the only sport I play is, well, sleeping. And that's why it's World Sleep Day. But what I really like is that whether I'm sleeping or active, Ari Hochard will have all the pertinent sports stories just for me and for you. Have a look at the sports package.
Good day everyone, it's time for international sport and we start off with cricket news. It is the World Cup for Women, the 50 over World Cup that's being played in New Zealand, and it's the host New Zealand that played against South Africa, but it was South Africa that came out winners in that game, a tight game that went into the last over. It was South Africa that won that game by 2 wickets, a brilliant result for South Africa. South Africa have now played 4 and won 4, same as Australia, the only 2 unbeaten teams with 4 wins from 4 games. What happened in the game was that it was New Zealand that batted first. They made 228 all out in the second last over, and then South Africa made the runs in the last over with 3 balls to spare, 229 for the loss of 8 wickets, with Laura Wolfhard making 67. Again, she's made some runs, and then the all-rounder Marizanne Kapp, she took 2 wickets and also scored very important 34 runs in the run chase. South Africa's next game will be on Monday when they play against Australia. Big game on this weekend. It is New Zealand that will play England, and both the teams have lost quite a few games. There's a good chance that the team that will lose on Saturday will not qualify for the semi-finals. On to some football news or soccer news. Big result for Liverpool, that is in the English Premier League midweek game. They played away to Arsenal. It was a cold and wet and rainy evening, and Liverpool came out winners by 2-0. That means they're just 1 point behind Manchester City, the lock leaders at the moment in the English Premier League. Both have played 29 games. It is Manchester City with 70 points and Liverpool 69. Arsenal still in 4th position despite the loss. They're in 4th position with 51 points from 27 games, and Manchester United in 5th position, 50 points from 29 games. And some more soccer news is Champions League results, and it is Villarreal that's through to the semi-final of the Champions League. They beat Juventus by 3-0 and advanced 4-1 on aggregate. And also a big result for Chelsea. Chelsea beat Lille, the French club, by 2-1, advancing by 4-1 on aggregate through to the semi-finals of the Champions League. And now on to some tennis news. It is tennis from the Indian Wells tournament that's being played in California. Strongfield that's playing in the men's and the women's section. Firstly, the men. It is Cameron Norrie, the defending champion from the United Kingdom. He's through to the semi-finals, and he beat Jensen Brusby of the USA in 2 sets. Also through is the highly rated 18-year-old from Spain, and his name is Carlos Alcaraz, and he came through in the game against Gael Monfils, and he beat him by 7-5 and 6-1. Earlier also, Rafael Nadal is still on winning ways. He beat Riley Opelka of the USA. Tight game. It was 2 tiebreaks. Rafael Nadal winning that 7-6 and 7-6. In the women's section, it is third seed Iga Swiatek from she is from Poland. That is through to the next round, also to the quarterfinals, and she beat Madison Keys by 6-1 and 6-love. Big score against Madison Keys there. And then also it was Simone Halep. She beat Petra Matrik of Croatia, and it was also an easy victory for her. It was 6-1, 6-1. And to conclude today's sports news, some golf news. It is a Greg Norman with a partnership with a Saudi Arabian-backed golf series that made an announcement of 8 tournaments that will take place in 3 continents. That will be in Asia, also in Europe, and also in the United States of America. Lots of prize money at stake. The first tournament will be in England. That will be in June, just 1 week before the US Open. And that prize money for that tournament, the total prize money will be $25 million US. That is $5 million US more than the prize money was this past weekend in the Players' Championship, which was the richest tournament on the PGA Tour. There will also be a team component in those 8 tournaments, and 48 players will be invited to play. At the moment, it's quite controversial, and some of the PGA high-profile players like Dustin Johnson and Bryson DeChambeau have indicated that they will not play in the Saudi-backed Greg Norman tournaments. So that's the international sport at the moment. Hope you have a great day, and we have international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Many thanks to Ari for that comprehensive sports package. Now, if you missed our top stories at the top of the hour, worry not. Here are some of the highlights. Grade 10 Free State pupil probed over poisonous cupcakes. US sanctions more Somali leaders over delayed polls. Charlotte Maxeke Hospital faces critical staff shortages. Gold miners killed in Sudan mine collapse. Nigeria, 100 million barrels of oil unaccounted for in 2019. Those have been our stories.
And with that, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Friday morning. Do remember that today is World Sleep Day. So if you need that rest, do sneak it in today. Do remember that Africa Good Morning is repeated on our website, 1up2, and on our DSTV channel 285 and our GoTV channel 94 between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. for every weekday. Now, if you have any comments regarding our show, do share them with us on our Twitter and Facebook pages. And if you have any content in your parts of Africa that you would like to include in our program, do share them with us, and we will gladly include them in the program. I am Glenna Rashipura.
And I am Ashwin Berry. We'll see you on Namibia's Independence Day. Have a good weekend.